Hi, my name is Judith Trainer and I run a company called Temples and Markets. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my fearless story. It goes back 10 years to when I was diagnosed with breast cancer at age 36. I had an almost 2-year-old son and I'd been sick on and off with various infections since he was a baby, since I had him. And when I was diagnosed with cancer, as much as a shock it was, I never thought I had breast cancer, but I knew there was something not quite right. It did seem that my immune system had failed, and the culmination of that was the cancer. There was no breast cancer history in my family. There is cancer in my family, there's cancer in most people's families, but no breast cancer. So in some ways it was random. In other ways you kind of think, well, I'd been sick, I don't know why I'd been sick. I guess I was exhausted and stressed, but so all new mothers are. But to me, it culminated in breast cancer. And so once I'd got myself up off the floor after that diagnosis in the GP's office, because I did kind of black out when she said that's what it was, it was then time to face the music. When you're young and going through breast cancer, they offer you the three things which I call slash burn and poison. In other words, surgery, chemotherapy, radiotherapy. And I knew instinctively that I did not want to have chemotherapy in my mind, or I'd read up a lot and I'd spoken to a lot of people. Chemotherapy kills the immune system. If my immune system was already failing, how could it possibly make me healthy? So I've always been a rebel. Back to when I was a punk as a teenager, I guess I always kind of didn't quite follow the road everyone else travels necessarily. And I read up and I went to a support group who help people lend people books about other treatments. I don't like using the word alternative, but I guess if you want that, it's alternative treatment. I prefer to call it natural treatments. Like I say, I've always been a bit of a rebel, so I'd even knew and been interested in natural health and using your mind. So meditation, for example, I was petrified of labour. That's why I didn't have a child till I was 36. And I used hypnobirthing during the pregnancy to get me through that, and it worked. I've also used hypnotherapy to help me get through a severe phobia I had about going to the dentist for many, many years. So back to the cancer, it was a time I spent probably about 2 months working out what treatment I was going to have. If I'm not going to have chemotherapy, I had to have something. And it had to be something that my husband and the rest of my family had faith in. But it couldn't be quackery. It had to be something tangible, where there's evidence that this actually does keep people healthy. So I found something called integrative medicine, which basically means GPs who have trained in medicine look slightly outside of the square, and they do very strongly go along with the doctor's oath, which is to do no harm. And so I was prescribed by an integrative doctor natural supplements, many natural supplements. I went on a certain regime. And the most important thing was a series of vitamin C IV drips. So vitamin C seems strange, doesn't it? Something so simple as vitamin C, but it has very strong anti-cancer properties. And by IV, obviously you sit in the chair, the same as when you're having chemotherapy, and it goes straight into your bloodstream. After each treatment, I felt amazing. So you know it's doing something wonderful. It doesn't have ill side effects. More importantly, well, not more importantly, but something to note is my husband met the integrative doctor after we went to many different types of doctors, Chinese medicine, this one, that one. He had faith in Dr. Paul, who I credit very much with that, saving my life, as well as, look, the surgeon did an amazing job. But Dr. Paul got me to the next stage, and he gave us something that we could believe in. Because what's the biggest fear? The biggest fear, obviously, when you're diagnosed with cancer is you're not going to make it. And one of the biggest challenges at that, it's easy to make a decision. I made a decision I didn't want to have chemotherapy. One of the biggest challenges is how do you then get through or close your ears to those outside pressures, the outside influences of friends. You certainly work out who your friends are, because not many of them really understood why I would be taking that route, which is very easy to say when you're not going through it. But it's all about taking control of your own body. And I would always say, if you're going through any diagnosis, I'm not telling you what to do. The most important thing, you just have to choose what is right for you, what works for you, and what you believe in. And I was told that at the time by the breast care nurse. They've had really good results, better results, encouraging results by women who have taken control of their own bodies. And also, if you believe in what treatment you're using, then it's going to work. It's more likely to work. How could I have chemotherapy if I didn't believe in it? But there were still other people. Even a neighbour, I remember, stopped me in the street and said to my mother-in-law, who I was walking along with at the time, pushing the pram. My mother-in-law was pushing the pram. I was walking along in this, depth of that moment when after you had the surgery, you don't know exactly what you're going to do in terms of treatment. And this lady said, "Don't you think she should have chemotherapy?" Apparently, it's everyone else's decision. And I remember another thing. This was way before, I guess, Facebook was really the thing. I was there's a chat room online of other women going through breast cancer. I remember a lady saying to me, "Don't you want to be alive to see your son grow up? Surely you should be doing everything the doctors tell you to do." I said, "Of course I do. That's exactly what I want to be around to see my son grow up," which is why I don't want to have chemotherapy, because for me, it doesn't make sense. Again, the most important advice I would give to you or anybody going through a medical diagnosis, whatever it is, research, work out what's right for you. Everybody's case is different. I'm not a statistic. None of us are statistics. Different types of cancers. Chemotherapy works for some. For me, it wasn't going to work. And the beautiful thing is, here I am 10 years later talking about it. And if I can help one person making this decision, again, not telling them what to do, but it kind of makes it feel like it's been a worthwhile nightmare to have gone through. I have had friends who've gone through it. I guess in your mid-30s, you're one of the first. Come to mid-40s, sadly, more women obviously are diagnosed with breast cancer or other cancers. And at least I've been able to be that person that they talk to, tell their wildest fears to, because unless you've been through it, you really won't know. So that's 10 years ago. And I had the vitamin C. I still very much live a life of trying to live organically. I have a regime where I exercise and have, as long as the sun's out, vitamin D every day. I try and have at least 20 minutes of sun every day. I try to avoid stress, but that's one of the challenges. We're all human, and I have a business, so it's quite hard to avoid stress. But those are the things I was told back then by a wonderful man called Ian Gawler, who also beat cancer through natural regime. Exercise, vitamin D, avoid stress, and you should be able to avoid a recurrence. That was for me, but again, it doesn't mean it's the same for everybody. Down the track now, or in recent years, I felt very much that I wanted to, it's a bit like, what was this all for? And I think it does, it's corny, but it does make some perspective, gives you some perspective on life. I try and leave the bullshit behind, and it's also made me want to live a life fulfilled, and a life with purpose, and to make a difference. So now I come to talking a bit about my store, Temples and Markets, which I think is the culmination of a 10-year journey, starting with the cancer and other things that I've done since then, but also a lot of travel that I've done over the years to Southeast Asia, and meeting wonderful people, seeing beautiful things that people in Southeast Asia make that you can't find elsewhere. And I came up with the idea to showcase unique designer product, emerging designer product from Southeast Asia, people I'd met down, traveling around, and I'd worn their product when I came back to Australia, and people would say, "Where did you get that?" And I wanted to make those things accessible to people back home or elsewhere around the world, and also actually help trade these people into a better life. I've travelled a lot in Cambodia and Vietnam, just come back from a trip there, and we're very fortunate here in Australia and generally around the Western world. And if I can do my bit to help people over there that I've met be more prosperous, they're so creative. Some people I've met are so creative. Then to me, that's helping you live a life of purpose. So templesandmarkets.com. I sell fashion accessories, jewellery, bags, and home decor unique to Southeast Asia. And it's actually gone from just being unique product to actually showcasing product from social enterprises in Cambodia, Vietnam, Singapore, Thailand, and Laos. And social enterprises that have giving particularly women an opportunity or training them in a craft so that they can have a better future, and empowering them. And when they get empowered and have a salary coming in, then they can, when they're more prosperous, their family's more prosperous, then that will affect the whole community, the village, and it has a knock-on effect. If I can help affect that with my business, then that's really living a life with purpose. And for the first time, my business launched 2 years ago. For the first time in my life, I feel like I am doing something work-wise that is incredibly fulfilling, and that I can actually make a difference in the world. I guess over the years I've learned about myself that I have to use my intuition. That's what helped me get through the cancer and even labour. Or trust your intuition. At the time, 10 years ago, I used a CD by a wonderful lady called Petrea King. Again, she's another wonderful woman who she survived terminal cancer in the 70s and now runs retreats. She's on the radio a lot. You may have heard of her. If not, look out Petrea King, questforlife.com.au. Her CDs are guided meditation CDs, and I used hers at the time when I was going through the breast cancer and for a long time afterwards. And each time I go for an annual checkup, I will use it again, because the words that ring true so much for me and made such a difference and helped me make my decision back then was use your wisdom, listen to your wisdom. It will tell you what the right thing is to do for you. So I guess that's my mantra: use my wisdom, use my intuition. I now do something I've been doing about 5 years called Kundalini Yoga. And Yogi Bhajan, who is the founder of Kundalini Yoga around the world, one of his mantras is keep up and you'll be kept up. So that's what I keep trying to do. I keep up and then I can be kept up. And through my business, Temples and Markets, I can hopefully help keep other people up in Southeast Asia. These amazing, creative, beautiful people. We're all basically a result of where we were born. I can live a prosperous life in Australia, so I'm helping to give them more prosperity. So please support Temples and Markets, support the artisans, these incredible creative people who are very humble. And I've had different business in previous years. This one, if I can give back, I'm living a life with purpose, and it feels good.